All right. So I'm dedicating this presentation to the essential workers who are risking their lives every day to make sure that our system keeps on running. So thank you. That number you see, 150 million people, those are the number of working people in the US. And these faces represent the hours of work over the American employee's lifetime. That's 90,000 hours of work that we're investing. And this research is powered by the data that we collect at Great Place to Work. We're the world's largest workplace study. We've been studying corporations for over 30 years, and we really know what makes them tick. Our whole mission is about creating great workplaces for all. And our experience is inspired by MLK in that we've seen glimpses of the mountaintop, and there's tremendous hope and work to create a future for all that maximizes human potential. But what we know is that it's really tough out there. If you think about the US, only 49% of employees experience their workplace as a great one. And when we talk about great workplaces, we're talking about fundamentally trust, that they have credible, respectful, fair leadership, that we can take pride in your work and have people that you work with that you enjoy being there with. And the US has a pretty damn complicated history with workers and corporations. And it's key to recognize the system that enslavement upheld. For hundreds of years, some very recognizable corporations played a significant role in ensuring, financing, and legitimizing the cotton industry, for one, and by recognizing enslaved Africans as assets. This was business as usual. Our current system, we sort people into categories, and by virtue, we create winners and losers. That's replicated through all of our systems, specifically our financial system and how we get access to capital, our healthcare systems, which you heard about today, our education systems as well, which we've also heard. We get outcomes like gaps in racial wealth. So where do we go from here? What you see here is a picture of the housekeepers at Hilton, who pre-pandemic ranked #1 on our 100 best companies to work for list with Fortune magazine. Now, these people, 96% of these folks think that Hilton is a great place to work. And while they're not perfect, the experience of these frontline workers is one of empowerment, trust, and genuine caring. It's what you expect when you show up at a Hilton. But these new titans of business are using a sophisticated mix of artificial intelligence and frontline workers to serve consumers. And most of these frontline workers that, although it's modern, they are not on par with providing a living wage, and they're not really receiving the education and the financially sustainable future that we all need. This specter of artificial intelligence really looms large. And if you were old enough to know the Terminator movies, you know, it was the future supposed to be man versus machine, and a corporation was responsible for creating this robotic killing machine. As we're shifting from a knowledge economy to a human economy, creativity, passion, character, you can't program that into a software. Our current system relies on a powerful part of our human nature, which is fear. And we found that at a very basic level, fear drives people apart. Those categorizations reorganize and reinforce that fear, and we know that it's not working. And it actually doesn't work for our bottom lines of businesses. So our inclusive, anti-racist mental model must start here. We have to combat fear by providing what people really want. To create this intersectional, anti-racist world, we have to focus on creating a sense of safety, a sense that people can be physically safe when carrying out their work duties on behalf of the company, that they have to be emotionally safe enough to be vulnerable and open, and that there's a psychologically safe enough to take risks. This is my big bet over the next 25 years. When you do this, this is what really truly powers innovation. It's not the lone genius in the basement or in the garage. Central to that is this sense of innovation by all, that everyone is central to that acceleration, especially frontline employees. How are people and companies ensuring that they're capitalizing on those ideas? And if we don't, what's the cost of neglecting this human potential? For us to really create this world, we have to be more transparent. And most companies today are not transparent about the stuff that really matters. For example, earlier this year, PwC released their first D&I report, kind of their own internal impact. Do you know how many people cautioned their chairman, Tim Ryan, to not release it? It was like people close to him on the executive board. But they know that they have to do that in order to survive the next 100 years. And the market is beginning to see the advantages of businesses who do good working with businesses who do good. And more investor cash is beginning to flow to businesses that support and amplify great practices. During this pandemic, a grocery store called Wegmans started hiring people from other certified best companies because they know that these companies and these people are really valued. We have to partner with folks. This intersectionality that you see here, it really takes into account the full identity of the employees. And the people who do not do this or cannot do this in the future, they will be punished. It doesn't simply pit Black against white. It really involves and invites all of our identities and spectrums into the workplace. When people show up more fully, people experience the world differently. But what we have to do as leaders is we need to focus on the people who are most impacted. This is where we make systemic change. To create this world that we're all imagining, we have to view our policies and our systems like sharing profits and promotions and advancing leaders through the lens of the impact that it's going to have. Not just the financial benefits of our decision, but the human part of our decisions. Some of our research, we found that the most often marginalized employees are the bellwethers of our economy and the business climate. You can see women, people of color, hourly male workers, long tenured employees, frontline workers. They often feel the effects first of businesses running into trouble, whether that's wage cuts or the threat of layoffs. And companies who do that, who ignore this, will do so at their own peril. Quite simply, why this is better for business. Our research shows that statistically, companies who treat their people right outperform financial measures like the Russell 1000 by 3x. Turnover is 50% less, especially for those hard to, those impacted workers, and innovation thrives. We have to continue to find equality in equity in the work that we're doing. It's better for people. People bring their best selves to work. They enjoy healthier, much more fulfilling lives. They enjoy coming to work. They believe that the policies are fair, and they believe that they're really making a difference. Those real human values of care, compassion, and respect are how we get things done when we create great workplaces for everyone. And at the end of the day, it's better for the world. The workplaces that are really trying to lead this charge are strengthening the social fabric. The people believe in and experience a greater sense of belonging, caring, solidarity inside and outside of the company with the communities in which they live and serve. This work is meaningful, it's high trust, and it elevates the human spirit. Leaders have to do the stepping up because, number one, it's a big mission, and we believe that this work is not all for us. We may not see it all the way through, but I trust that we're getting to a place where more and more people will experience corporations doing good by being good and partnering with others that are doing a very similar thing. This is the world that we want to see. We believe that it's for all, and if we don't do it, basically the people in our world depend on us to do the right thing and create these great workplaces for everyone. That's it.
Thank you, Julian, Lute. So powerful presentation and very relevant for so many of us who, have worked in larger companies before. And so I'm going to ask you the same question I did of the speakers surrounding, thinking about community empowerment. What are some of the things that we can, as individuals, community members, frontline workers, do to help actualize, this vision?
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say two things. One is, if you're a leader of people in any way, you have to really look at your people as assets, not in the financial assets, but that they are coming into this to your enterprise, your small business, your medium-sized business, your team with hopes, dreams, and history. And so being able to make sure that you're looking at people as humans and realizing that they have potential to be maximized, not just for the benefit of the organization, but for the benefit of themselves, their families, and their communities, is the first place. So it starts with leadership. I've been in so many organizations where I'm fighting leaders to not look at their employees as resources or line items in their budget as human resources, but to really see them as people. And once you get through that, you can start, kind of building this world. And I'd say, as individual people, frontline leaders, I think you have to, or frontline employees, you have to, in your own way, stand up and demand what you expect out of a workplace, what you expect out of your corporation, how you expect and communicate how you expect your company to engage with the community around it, and maybe even the community that you live in as well. Those are the two things top of mind.
Excellent. Thank you. Another question from Syra Pasha. How do we change rigid mindsets who have power at the top and completely unaware of being human 101? Where do we start as leaders?
Well, what's funny is we were talking about this on a team call yesterday. When we look at some of our strategic partners, some of the Fortune 100 companies that we've worked with, it all starts with a personal experience. You have to get into the communities that you're trying to affect. You have to be touched and moved. We heard people telling their stories. You have to, you can't just read it in a book and go out and do it. You have to find a way to connect with people. We were listening to the former chairman of AT&T on the stage a couple of years ago at Great Place to Work at our conference, our summit, and he was talking about his best friend and his wife's best friend. They African-American family, you know, he's white identified and his wife is white identified. For 25 years, they had never discussed race. And until, you know, the shootings in Dallas, that was their flash moment for them to actually start having this conversation. And, you know, I don't know how you don't do that. You know how we talk in our household, but it's interesting that it takes that personal something to connect you back to this mission and to actually the desire to do something different and see the world differently.
Excellent. Thank you, Julian. So we'll take one more question. We are going to run over a few minutes, folks. We have until about 2:10, so I do apologize. But let's see. Alfredo Matthews asks, how is remote work changing the workplace and how will it affect the relationships to place?
Yeah.
To reach global markets, but my fear, companies further lose their relationship to place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I think as a core, so that is true in terms of how people are, you know, starting to wrap their heads around it. But people that actually work in the corporations are resilient, and they are actually reaching back into whatever communities that they are, that they live in, that they may have moved to, and they're actually like, I trust in the people because the people want to be a part of wherever they are. And so that's one thing that we've seen. People, no matter where I've been over the last 6 months virtually, everyone is looking for connection. That's the main thing that we're hearing. Even if you're Zoom fatigued out and you don't want to talk to anybody and you've been sitting in front of a computer screen for 12 hours, people still thrive on this connection. And so I trust that people still will find ways in their community to engage. More and more companies are finding ways to help people support communities. You know, like even at Great Place to Work, we had a couple months during the early part of the pandemic where every week, you know, we had a meal sponsored by our company. Everyone in the company could get a meal for their family from a local business. And we did that for about 8 weeks. So we were trying to do our part to stay connected to our community and also actually put some money in pockets where people where people were struggling. So I believe in the power of people. I think that they're going to do the right thing. And if we get more of those people in the right positions in leadership and organizations, there's no telling where we're going to head. And we're moving in the right direction. So I love that part.